Hi lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm reviewing Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. That's right guys, I finally read this book. So after months of slowly accumulating the first 6 books in the series, pretty much one at a time, and every book haul saying that I need to read this series, I've actually done that. Also, in case you can't tell by the TV tie-in edition of this book, it is also a television show on Starz. And I super love the television show too, but this book is pretty much awesome. So this is an adult romance, and I do mean adult book, and it focuses on Claire Randall, who was an army nurse in 1945, and she ends up traveling back in time to 1743 and getting involved in the Scottish Highland clans and their struggle to keep their identities when the British Army is trying to suppress it, basically. So when we first meet Claire, she is on her second honeymoon with her husband Frank in the Scottish Highlands. World War II has just ended, and both Frank and Claire have spent years in the British Army. They've actually spent more of their marriage apart fighting in the war than they have together. So they need this honeymoon to kind of reconnect and get to know each other again. So while Claire is exploring, she finds this circle of standing stones and she manages to go through them. And that takes her back in time to 1743, where she meets members of the clan Mackenzie and ends up getting swept away and involved in their disputes with the British Army. Pretty much. And we definitely get to see the Highland culture through Claire's eyes. The entire book is narrated by Claire, so we get a more modern perspective on this history that's going on around them. And I also love Claire as a character, just the way that she thinks things through. It's really hard not to have empathy for Claire as she's narrating, and like, you know, her struggle to, like, she has to survive and not get caught and doesn't want to get burned as a witch or something. Which is a possibility in this time. And all the while, Claire is struggling to get back to these stones in the hopes that maybe she can go home back to 1945 and be with her husband Frank again. While she's spending time with the clan Mackenzie, she meets Jamie, who was one of the fighters. So the romance in here between Claire and Jamie is a very slow build. It's wonderful and delightful to kind of see this happening through Claire's eyes. Yes, it deals with Claire's struggle between she's married back home and misses her husband Frank, but then also getting caught up with the realities of what's happening around her and trying to survive. I think that's about all I can say about the romance without spoiling the story. But Jamie is awesome. Totally, right off the bat, I love Jamie from just meeting him and the way that he tries to listen to Claire and is kind of more open to trying to understand her English ways, because Claire is a foreigner. All the clansmen just see her as this English woman, but she does use her army medic skills to help the clan, and I love that. So without spoiling the book too much, there's kind of a few themes that are going on in here. One of them is that romance. There's also the morality of Claire knowing the history of this time period and knowing what is going to happen to the clans, because they're a few years away from this big Jacobite rebellion, and it's kind of the last stand of the clans. They fight the British, trying to get the Bonnie Prince Charles into power so he can become King of Scotland, and it doesn't go well. And in the end, pretty much all the clans are decimated. So Claire's got this internal struggle where she's trying to decide, should she say anything to these people? Like, they're helping her out. She's starting to become friends with them. How do you even tell somebody that? Like, would they even believe her? And then because Claire has medical training also, Should she only use the medical knowledge that is available in the 1740s, or can she apply modern 1945 medicine when she can find it? I love how absolutely vivid this world is. Like, the descriptive writing in here is amazing. And Claire is smart and intelligent, and the people that she's meeting are also smart. And they have a great heart, and the Scots are excellent storytellers. And so we get to hear all the tales of the Highlands as they're told to Claire and as she's experiencing them. From like the stories of the maids and the cooks and the farmers, all the way up to the laird of the clan Mackenzie, like the great chief, like all these different stories and all these different ways of life, these different statuses. And because Claire's an outsider, she's equally an outsider to the cooks as she is to the laird. So I love just getting to see the Scottish Highlands. In one of the extras for the television show, they're talking about how Scotland is its own character in this series, and it definitely is. Like, this time period and the feel of it becomes its own character, and is such a huge appeal of this book. Also, because Claire is time traveling, things are explained. Like, anything that isn't normal, Claire takes the time to kind of rationalize it, put it into like a historical perspective. So the book is well explained. It is a bit graphic at times. There's a lot of sex and a lot of violence, and they are definitely no holds barred in the descriptions of what's happening. It's very real, very gritty. So I said it's an adult book, and that's the main reason why. So I would definitely say an age range on this is 18 plus. Also, the characters are older. Like, Jamie is, I think, 23 or 24 or something, and Claire's like 28. So these aren't teenage characters. They're definitely older, and the situations they're in, Claire having come out in World War II, and Jamie and the Highland clans embarking on this war, it's definitely a more maturely themed book, and the characters have more adult struggles, I guess. There are parts of this book where the descriptions get really graphic and the violence gets really hard to take, so there are definitely points where I had to put the book down for a bit and kind of breathe. It took me a few days to read this, partially because it is 850 pages, so there is very little chance that I was just going to sit down and read it all in one day. But also because there's a lot happening, and just trying to process it all does require like a longer period of time. Reading this in shorter bursts than I normally might read a book. This book is super exciting. The first couple hundred pages, like maybe fourth of the book, is kind of slow going as she's setting up the world and building the characters. But I still enjoyed reading the descriptions of Claire and her life in 1945, so we know what she's leaving, and then her journey through the stones, and she's first experiencing this different time period. But it is slow going, the first maybe fourth of this book, but then the next 3/4, like, once you get to know these characters and you get to feel for them, and especially get to feel for Claire, and there's a lot more excitement going on. Yeah, it's definitely exciting and terribly romantic, and I love Jamie's character. I think Jamie is definitely one of the highlights of this book series, at least of this book. Not even gonna lie. The descriptive writing in this book is seriously amazing. The way that Diana Gabaldon tells this story, and how thoroughly she tells the stories of minor characters, even characters that maybe we only meet once, it's so engaging, and I love it, and you feel like you're actually there. And even just describing everyday life. One of the characters in this book is pregnant at one point, and having that character describe what it feels like to have a child inside of you and what changes the body is going through. and like what it physically feels like, but what it also emotionally and spiritually feels like. And it's just amazing description of that. And there's a point where that character goes into labor, and her husband, like the description of the look of his face and the agony that he's going through as he's watching and listening to his wife going through pain. Um, it's stunning writing, basically. The characters are wonderfully fleshed out and thought out and have such intricate backstories. Um, yeah, this book's freaking amazing. I think I gave it 4 stars mostly because it does get really, really gruesome at times. Um, but I still enjoyed it. Like, it's gotta be like a 4.5 stars for me. And I am really excited to read the rest of the series. Also made me want to go spend a ton of time outside and just like go explore. Claire, one of Claire's hobbies is botany, so she's really interested in plants and the landscape, and so it made me just want to go outside and read this book out in a field somewhere, which I totally did do. I went out to the park and just like put out my blanket and just read this book for a couple hours outside. It's great. So I really love this book, and I definitely have an appreciation for Scotland now. That's a bit deeper than it was before, and history of the time. So, in modern medicine, I definitely have a fantastic appreciation for modern medicine after reading this book also. um, yes. So if you guys want a definitely romantic story with tons of adventure still in it and smart, cunning characters and fantastic storytelling, this book is definitely all of those things. And it definitely has all the definitely lives up to all the praise that this book gets. Um, yeah, totally recommend Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Let me know in the comments below if you have read this book or if you've watched the show and what you think of this world. I'm especially interested to know if guys get as obsessed about this book as us girls do, or if this is definitely a girly romantic story. I think there's plenty of battles in here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entertaining enough, I guess. Um, so, peace out. I love you guys and keep reading. Bye.